Hello out there in internet land.
Hello.
How are you all today?
I I was about to answer you as if I'm one of you all. Well, I'm well.
I'm trying to wait a few seconds to make sure all of
Yeah,
our
I can hear myself.
great, great. That has become my constant worry on our Streamcast now is that audio doesn't work for reasons.
For mystical force reasons. My
Uh,
voice gets lost in the world between worlds.
my voice just gets lost because I talk for a living, which is an issue today. But we are here today with our Streamcast to talk about Galaxy's Edge. And that means a whole lot now that it didn't mean 2 weeks ago.
That is
um,
true.
but
We were actually going to talk about this last week, and then that whole wonderful Disney call happened,
yeah,
and we did that instead while it
which
was still funny.
if you missed that or tuned in for the first part of it and thought what is going on and then clicked away, we were doing a parody of something that happened
It
last
was a
week.
very inside joke. It was a very inside joke.
So if you didn't watch all of that video, you may want to go back and check out where we explain what we were doing.
Also, real quick note: we should have addressed it yesterday, we should have addressed it last week, but we didn't because we were so caught up in 30. We hit a year of streamcasts in the beginning of February,
Woo!
which is pretty crazy.
That's you can tell because this is like episode 30 something, and there are
I was gonna say,
only 30 something weeks in a year.
right? You can see by the fact that this is 37 that we have been highly consistent in our weekly podcast.
Oh yeah, happy birthday to the Streamcast.
Oh
Um,
man.
in some ways I feel like we've learned a lot and it's gotten a lot better in a year, and
Yep.
in some ways I just feel like we just start the camera and ramble for an hour.
We do just start the camera and ramble for an hour.
Our production value is a whole lot better than it was a year ago though.
That is
So
true.
that I guess that says something. um, but so if you're unaware,
Yes.
Galaxy's Edge is a primarily, I guess, first and foremost, a theme park that is coming to both of the Disney locations in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
This year. So I think the one in California is set to open this summer. Is that
Yes.
right? And then
No, I think the Orlando one's first. Hold on, I got Wikipedia right here. I mean, I know it off the top of my head. Uh, Disney. Okay, slated to open in June 2019 at Disneyland, late fall. Okay, you were right. Yeah,
yeah,
at Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World.
yeah. And so like the first one is this summer, I think, and then the one later in the year. You may have those dates. I don't know. But anyway, at both of the U.S. locations, there's going to be a Star Wars theme park at the Disney
Yeah,
parks. Um,
which is insane. Like, it's a thing that I never thought I'd see, and I may never see, but I'm really happy that it is going to exist and that other people will be able to see it.
but it's been something I've been excited about for a while. So if you were to talk to my wife, which would be weird if any of you did, but but were you to talk to my wife, she would tell you that the last time we went to Disney, the only ride that we rode more than once was Star Tours, and that's
Yeah.
because I insisted on riding it more than once because there are multiple scenarios that can happen when you ride Star Tours, and I wanted to experience as many of them as possible. Even though she wanted to ride other things again, we rode Star Tours 4 times. But so it's a whole Star Wars. Now, one thing I will admit to, and this is a thing I could have looked up in preparation. Um, but do you know if this is like a completely separate park, or is this an area in one of the existing parks?
um, Again, according to Wikipedia, it says Disney's Hollywood Studios at Disney World
Okay,
for the Florida one.
yeah, that makes sense.
Um, And then I think Disneyland is just Disneyland, but the space within it is supposed to be totally immersive. Like you're
Right.
supposed to walk in and feel like you're at this place, and like all the people who work there are supposed to
Be in
be
character.
in character and stuff.
And I think there's a resort that is
Yeah,
like a themed place you can stay as a part of it too, if I'm not wrong.
I have nothing but sympathy for the poor saps that are going to work there,
Yeah.
and then people like us are going to be there, and they're going to have like the most in-depth weird questions. They're going to be like, so what is your opinion on space whales?
Yeah.
and they're going to be like, they sound great and stuff. It's just,
It's gonna be. Did you ever see the thing? They actually stopped doing this now, but for a long time, if you went and saw a Toy Story character and said Andy's coming, they would all like fall on the ground and like be motionless. And now the answer, because so many people were doing that, is no, Andy's in college. Which but I want to know what all the like Star Wars insidery stuff is, because even people that have no idea have to have some kind of prep once we all
there
show
has to
up.
be a school.
Yeah.
Like there has to be a school. It's just, I feel like, you know, we talk about all these annoying fans out there, and I feel like this should become the limbo for like bad fans.
Oh, yeah.
Where if you're like a jerk to an author on Twitter, you are forced to work at Galaxy's Edge and deal with people just like you.
Yeah.
And you can't leave until you learn how to be nice.
Huh.
This would be my solution for the fandom.
Just walk up to like a random steward at your Star Wars resort and be like, "Well, did you see what Pablo said on Twitter yesterday? Because
What is your opinion?
this carpet color is problematic based on what what Pablo tweeted yesterday."
Is Sala Siren milk green instead of blue? Like, I just like, they need to like be asking questions.
Is this bathroom canonical? Because it's supposed to be a fresher, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my gosh. Someone's gonna do that though. That's the thing. Someone is gonna go up to some poor 23-year-old just out of college, has $70,000 in student debt, just trying to live their life, thinking, "Man, I get to work at a Star Wars theme park," and then someone's gonna show up and be like, "I need you to explain The Last Jedi to me."
But so, based on the way I understand it, this park is supposed to be like in universe. Like,
Yes.
stuff there will be at least mildly canonical. Be not G canon, but you know. But there's like going to be a Millennium Falcon ride,
Yes.
starring Hondo Anaka, which I'm excited about, especially after I read Pirate's Price.
Yeah.
But like it's supposed to be like you said, completely immersive. And they've been releasing, like, I don't know if this was official stuff or if this is just people in Florida have drones, but there've been a lot
Right.
of like pictures that have been released
Right.
of the construction and stuff.
Which is cool.
But according to that conference call, it's all on schedule to open.
It's all on schedule. And we're not going to hear about it. They're going to tweet once, and then we'll know it's open.
We're doing their marketing for them right now.
Right. You're welcome, Bob.
But so go ahead.
I was going to say, what I've heard is the Millennium Falcon ride, if you like don't score high enough, a bounty hunter tries to track you down or something.
Oh, awesome.
I don't know how true that is, but it sounds amazing. It sounds like a reason to intentionally do bad on the ride.
That's the job I want at this Disney park. I want to get a picture and have to follow a guy around all day.
It'd be best if he's like cosplaying as like Kanan or something.
You didn't adequately perform in this this Flash minigame that we put inside the Millennium Falcon. You missed your QuickTime event, and so now I'm gonna haunt you all the rest of the day.
the rest of the time in this park. Oh man.
But so I'm excited about that. I'm probably not gonna go this year, obviously.
Right.
But it's a definite thing that's gonna have to be in my future at some point.
Oh yeah. Well, and one thing, I mean, not some of this is just me trying to like make myself feel better, but I do honestly think that it will probably be better to go to this park in 2020 or 2021,
Right.
not just because of the crowds, but I think that it would be a massive missed opportunity to, like, I've been saying this for a while, and we'll get into this more when we get to the discussion on some of the tie-in material. But I really think that this planet that they invented for the park, Batu,
Right.
is going to tie into episode 9. I just think it's a real missed opportunity if it's not at least like seen somewhere. And I think it's possible that even though it opens this summer and this fall, that there will be new stuff on the other side of episode 9.
Right.
And it's 100% speculation. That's just what I would do if I was running it. But you know, I would hate to go in the first 2 months and then
Yeah.
and then if you had waited a year, you would have gotten to do the 2 new cool rides or something, which you know is going to happen.
Right. It's interesting to me too because it took me a while, I think, to realize how important they were setting Batu up to be in like
New
canon. Yeah, because I know it was Thrawn Alliances where like half of that book happens on Batu at Black Spider Outpost. But was it? I feel like it might have been in Last Shot also. But I know
Sounds familiar.
I know for sure. And I know you've not read this yet, so I won't spoil.
Well, I mean,
more
I
than
know
I already
it,
have for you.
But
But it's one of the main locations in Pirate's Price too, and that's the book as part of the Flight of the Falcon that kind of explains how it ended up the Falcon ended up on Batu. But like I remember reading Thrawn Alliances and like doing what I do sometimes when I read Star Wars books. I'll like look up a place or a person's name just to see if they're in other places, and I'm like, oh wait, this is the theme park.
This is Galaxy's Edge, yeah. Well, it's funny. I was talking to a friend a ways back, and he was all excited for the park, but it blows my mind sometimes. I forget how tapped in we get with all this like communities where we talk in and out of, and with Twitter and our site and everything.
Right.
But I was talking to him, and he was like, well, the Galaxy's Edge is going to have Naboo. And I'm kind of looking at him like, I don't think it's going to have Naboo. And he's like, no, I've seen pictures. It's Naboo. And I'm like, no, they made up a planet. He's like, well, I don't see how you would make a Star Wars park and not have Naboo. And I'm just kind of staring at him. And I didn't really want to like continue this conversation because there's only so many ways I can say it's not Naboo.
Naboo exists already. It's in Spain.
Yep, it's true. You can just go to Spain. But it was just one of those funny things where I'm like, I don't think you're right, but I'm just going to let it go. But it is kind of funny that they picked to just create a planet instead of doing Tatooine or Coruscant.
Right.
And it either way would make sense. I mean, I think the problem with a known planet is which one.
Right.
And then you have like this weird mini Epcot where it's like, here's the Hoth restaurant and the Tatooine restrooms. You know, it's like,
I really want Hoth in South Florida.
Yeah, right. I think everyone does. It's called Blizzard Beach water park.
I guess you could do. My fake fanboy is showing.
Yeah.
But what's the planet in Rogue One?
There's a couple.
At the end.
Scarif?
Scarif, yes. With the beaches.
Hey, Andy, welcome. I would, apart from the whole part of it blows up thing, I would love to go to Scarif, personally.
But, well, we know part of it got destroyed. Maybe there's some beaches on the other side that are still...
I'm sure it's fine. I mean, a giant, like, Kyber crystal blast on one hemisphere surely can't affect the other hemisphere.
Nope.
I'm sure it's fine.
Killed all the Scarif dinosaurs.
What if the asteroid was actually a shot from Starkiller Base?
I mean, I didn't see the second Jurassic World movie, but now I'm assuming that's what that volcano scene is. It's the dinosaurs on the other side of the
Cullen
scale.
Trevorrow writes his episode 9,
There you go.
releases it as Jurassic World 2.
Um, but I will also admit to it literally being this morning before I realized that the name Galaxy's Edge is meant to be like a geographical reference because it's on the edge of the galaxy.
What did you think it was?
I just a name, like we get lots of Star Wars names that don't have like meanings.
It's like me watching the Resistance trailer, like, it's just gonna be spaceship.
I mean, what does last shot mean?
That's true.
I mean, it's just.
I think it's like with shot first, but it's their last. I don't know. That's a good point. Who knows what that means?
But yeah, that occurred to me this morning too.
When I was doing my gratuitous amounts of research for this stream today, I found out that Galaxy's Edge is a name of a campaign in one of the Star Wars role-playing games.
Oh, really?
And in reading it, it didn't seem connected at all. So there you go. But then I thought about it, and I was like, Galaxy is probably going to be in the title of many things set in space. So It's probably not that strange.
But so we've talked about the park a little bit, and we can pivot back to that if you like. But when we mentioned that we already know that Batu has shown up in a couple of places already. But one of the things that just came out, I guess almost 2 weeks ago now, maybe a little bit more, was the announcement of a lot of tie-in materials. So do you want to walk us through? We have an article about this on our site already, and you've seen it on StarWars.com and stuff. But do you want to walk us through the different tie-in materials that we're getting?
Yeah, and I will do it through materials I prepared myself and not by just reading the StarWars.com article verbatim. And that is, so the first thing that's listed is there's going to be a tie-in comic. And just as a general commentary, I think I think current canon comics have just kind of come out with a vengeance versus where Legends canon comics started.
For sure.
I'm so behind on them, but at the same time, I'm just really glad that they all exist. Like, there's this really deep comic lore as well. And that adds to just knowing what things look like, which is so nice. But anyway, the first thing is a mini-series. I think but that's going to come out starting in April. And it's got this neat-looking Athorian guy, which is the Hammerhead guys. And it says, Blackspire Outpost has long been frequented by smugglers, merchants, and travelers looking to make a score in the infamous black market. Aliens like the infamous Dok Ondar, a proprietor of rare and one-of-a-kind things. So it's basically going to be a mini-series about a guy who finds weird stuff. It sounds like a really nice, and I mean this in a good way, kind of like low-stakes story. And it might not stay low-stakes, but just the idea of somebody who finds the odd knickknack, which I think is really cool. And to me, more miniseries of comics is just less daunting than like, I got to keep up with like all 8 arcs of the main line and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, 6 issues. I can handle 6 issues. That's fine.
Well, and I think it allows you to tell smaller stories that you would never get in the main line also, which is something I always appreciate about miniseries.
For sure. The second thing on this list is the thing I'm probably most excited for out of the announcements, and that's Delilah Dawson, who wrote Phasma, is getting another novel. It is just called Blackspire. And if you can see the cover for this on our thumbnail, it's literally just black. Like, they have no picture on it. And so this leaves a lot of room for speculation, and it makes me wonder, again, this is where I kind of think that maybe the planet ties into, like, I would not be surprised if Batu was a main planet in episode 9. It would not surprise me one bit. I don't know if it is, but it might be. But I wonder is it that they just haven't picked a cover? Is it that the cover reveals more about the park? Or is it that the cover ties into episode 9 and we won't get the cover until after we see promotional material from episode 9?
Well, one thing about that you and I have talked about is other novels that were announced without a cover
Yep.
included both, I think, of the Battlefront books were initially announced without a cover because they weren't announced to be Battlefront books at first.
Hmm.
And Alphabet Squadron also didn't have a cover at first, and that's because they were waiting to reveal that it was going to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
And so, like, I won't say all because there's probably something out there that we're not remembering or thinking about. But a lot of
Right.
these books that have been released without their covers, not released, but announced without their covers
Right.
finalized, there's been a reason why. And so I think it stands to reason that there's something, because the tagline is like Leia sends her top spy to go do a thing. And if that top spy is a character that we either know and it ties into episode 9, or it's a character that we get really more introduced to in episode
Hmm.
9, they would have a reason for
Right.
not doing that.
A lot of speculation has been, and I'm sorry, this is where my fake fan is showing. I believe her name is V. I can't remember her full name, but the character from Phasma, who was the person that was talking to uh, Cardinal to try to learn more about Phasma.
Yeah.
A lot of people figured she'd be the spy, um, and it hasn't been confirmed. But I guess in the Women of the Galaxy guidebook, there's a thing that puts that character on Batu.
Hmm.
And somebody tweeted it out, and Dawson responded something to I can't remember exactly what she said, but she said something to the effect of, "You have really good eyes," or "You're very observant," or something like that.
Right.
So I don't think she confirmed that it's V, but she certainly didn't deny it. And I feel like if it wasn't, she wouldn't have said something like that. But that's still just
Sure.
speculation.
Just based on our own author interactions and how cagey they get about
Right.
about things.
Stuff.
You can
Well, and how
take that in
excited
one
they
of two
get to
ways.
bring back their characters, too.
Yeah. Which I will use this as another way to mention that Kevin Scott got mysteriously quiet when I said the words Droid Gotra and his appearance on our streamcast. Um,
Well, Kevin is the cheekiest. I remember when he was on our stream, I brought up how when I interviewed him, he said he'd love to write Leia. And then here he got to write Leia, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I was totally writing Leia when I said that." I was like, "Kevin, you jerk."
See, if that was me and I knew I was doing that, I would not be the type to tease it. I would be the type to like do the like the secret kind of thing, like put it out in the universe. Like,
Yeah.
and I would say, "Oh no, I definitely want that Joe Costanu series, like the Joe Costanu trilogy. Like that's what I want to write."
Humming.
Um, but I think this is the book that I'm most excited about personally.
Yeah.
Not just because I loved Phasma and I liked Delilah Dawson,
Hmm.
but I mean, it really not even because it's like the main like adult novel.
Right.
I just think all of that together just makes me excited for
A
it.
giant thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Phasma is one of my, if not my favorite new canon novel.
Right.
I'm more inclined to recommend like Bloodline or something like that, just because. And I hate to say this about Phasma because I think it's a discredit to the book, but Phasma isn't important to getting the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Like if you're reading the new canon for like vital information, you should read Bloodline or Aftermath.
Right.
But to that point, a lot of people like Lost Stars, and Lost Stars isn't important, I don't think, but it's great. I mean, it's kind of important because it has Jakku in it.
Yeah.
But that, I don't think that really takes away from the novel, because Phasma is one of the best ones. I remember sitting there reading it, like screaming at the page. I was reacting so hard, and I don't usually do that to books.
Right.
That's just my own side plug that everyone should read Phasma, because I liked it so much. It's Mad Max in Star Wars is basically what it is, and
More or less.
really enjoyable.
It also tells us a lot about the Hux family too,
Mm-hmm.
and their role in the First Order. And so
Yep.
to me, it's a bridge between Aftermath and the Force Awakens in that way too.
It really is, yeah.
Um,
Well, and it might end up tying in more when we know what's coming in 9.
Sure.
But really, the number one reason to read Phasma is if you liked Phasma and you want to see her actually reach her potential, as opposed to just kind of show up for one fight. Even though I really liked that scene.
It's a book to not get attached to any characters, though.
Don't.
Spoilers. But
hello, Blue. Welcome.
Yeah, we got a lot of people hanging out in the chat today.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, guys.
There's also a young adult novel that was
Sorry,
announced
I'm
too,
getting
wasn't there?
distracted talking
No,
about
it's
books
fine.
we've already
It's fine.
We have Black Spire by Dawson is coming out in September. And then we have A Crash of Fate by Zoraida Cordova, I believe. She wrote a FACPOV story from a certain point of view story. So it's cool anytime we see one of those authors get brought into the main canon. But it's a young adult novel. Izzy and Jules were best of friends until Izzy's family abruptly left Batu when she was 6. Now she's back, and Jules, the boy who never left, is unsure what to make of her. While on the run from vengeful smugglers and an angry pirate, 2 friends will come to terms with who they are and what they mean to each other. This comes out in August.
So it's Lost Stars, but on Batu.
So that's really what I thought. Like, okay, so Lost Stars, but with smugglers instead of Imperials, which I like Lost Stars, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm really hoping the angry pirate is Hondo.
Of course.
I'd really like it if the angry pirate was Hondo. But, they gotta have them. You gotta have, like, at least one young adult romance novel in there somewhere. And it might not be the whole point of the book, but that's where they stick it.
One of my favorite things about Pirates Price and Hondo is the amount of guff that Hondo and Han give each other, because one of them thinks very lowly of smugglers and the other thinks very lowly of pirates.
Right.
and seeing that back and forth. But no, that would be great. And I mean, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me, given that we know Hondo is
there, yeah.
Batu. Yeah.
So, let's see. But I think that'll be good. That one is the one that has, like, the most descriptive cover, even though it's literally just a picture of the place. But it's still very pretty.
I mean, I think, though, this is the one that is most ambiguous as far as when it takes place, though.
Yes, that is very true.
We don't have... I mean, they could all be around the same time frame. We don't really know. But, like, with the other books, we have, like, descriptors that tell us, General Leia sends this person, so it has to be occurring in a time frame where Leia is a general.
Right.
And stuff like that. But no, I'll definitely read this book too.
I'm excited for all these. I think in a different way, I'm really excited for the last one, which is the Myths and Fables book by George Mann. So this is a middle grade novel. Here, the thrilling space tales, fables, and myths that are told in a galaxy far, far away. The book features 2 stories that take place on the remote outer rim world of Batu, plus many other untold tales from the edge of the galaxy. So this feels a lot like Legends of Luke Skywalker, but animals. And I'm all for it. Again, you can see the cover on our thumbnail, and it's a Force user, presumably with a lightsaber, fighting a dragon, which is all any of us have ever wanted out of life, I think. But I think that will be a lot of fun to read.
And I know that George Mann has written a lot of short stories. And I think he's authored some Doctor Who novels. Also, is where I know that name from. But the one thing that I kind of wondered about this, which I really liked most of the anthology books that we've gotten so far have been things that I really enjoyed. One of them was kind of good. But so I'm excited because I've liked the anthologies. But the question I have when I first saw this is why is this a Galaxy's Edge thing? Because it doesn't nothing about it sort of screams Batu or Galaxy's Edge as much as it's just...
Yeah, well, I feel like this one almost just got announced alongside of everything else. Because this is the only one where it doesn't say cover not final. So presumably the cover's final. Yeah. And it doesn't say Galaxy's Edge on it. So this to me feels more like it just got lumped in.
Yeah.
What's interesting is this is coming out on August 6th. Crash of Fate, the young adult novel, is coming out August 6th. September 3rd is Black Spire. All three of those things come out after the first park is open in June. And the only thing that comes out beforehand is the first issue of the comic, but that's still the first issue of the comic.
Right.
It will probably not wrap up until after the parks have opened.
Yeah.
So it's kind of odd that these are being used to tie in. And with a September and August release dates, that's traditionally been around the time we get a Force Friday with the Journey 2 books. So like the Journey to the Force Awakens, Journey to Last Jedi. So I wonder, like, are we getting Galaxy's Edge books instead of Episode 9 books? There's a part of me, again, this is my mass conspiracy theory, that's all speculation, but what if they're not even a Galaxy's Edge series, but what if they're all tie into Episode 9, and because they haven't released a title, they're claiming they're Galaxy's Edge books. And what if Episode 9 is just called Galaxy's Edge? How good would that be?
That would be ironic.
I would honestly, if it is Star Wars Episode 9 Galaxy's Edge, which is not a bad title for the last film, by the way, I would probably just laugh so hard. Because we've all been screaming for a title, and we would have technically known the title for actual years.
Yeah, that would be funny. I saw this article. I don't even know where it was from. It just, if you pull up like the Google app on your phone, like the Google bot analytics that are controlling the world will like show you an article that it thinks you'll want to read. And I saw an article that said only one person on Earth knows the title to Episode 9. And it would be so ironic if like, no, hundreds of millions of people.
Millions of people knew it. I think that should be, I think if right now we put it out into the universe that it's called Episode 9 Galaxy's Edge, then tomorrow they'll announce the title and it will be something completely different. But at least if we make this stand right now, we could fall on that sword and get the title out there.
That's like even better than Blue Harvest. Like release the name and just tell people that's not it. Like that's something else.
I really want it to be called Episode 9 Galaxy's Edge now. I don't know why, that would just make me so happy.
But
that would be why Bob said that the park will market itself.
Yeah, there you go. But it's interesting to me because like I'm with you. I'm almost certain that Batu will feature somewhere in Episode 9 because it feels like honestly it would be a mistake if it didn't. Like a missed opportunity.
Even if it's as simple as a montage like we get at the end of Return of the Jedi and it's one of the planets.
Right,
like it will be somewhere. It's got to at least be in a line of dialogue.
Right.
Like, oh, here comes the resistance fighters from the planet of Batu,
Right. Or like where this is probably a thing that exists in the world too, but like where was Maz in The Last Jedi when we see her on
Oh yeah, was she on Takadana or was she was having a union dispute?
Yeah.
We don't really know where, I don't think.
But like we could get something like that where it's a character that is like coming in on a hologram from Black Spire Outpost or something like that. I think there are any number of ways you could tie it in. But I'm still anticipating a series of Journey to Episode 9 books also. I just don't think we're going to get them announced until Celebration at least.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because, they certainly can't announce it until we get a title.
Right, sure.
That's the thing. And if any of the novels feature who Kerry Russell's playing, who Richard E. Grant's playing, who any of the other people who've been announced that I can't think of off the top of my head are playing, all of the different Rey's moms and Mara Jade's that have been cast, when we know who they are playing, then we'll know. But let me see here. I think we hit everything that was on there. There is an excerpt on this. I'll just go ahead and I think I linked to it in the description, but I'll just drop it in chat too. But this is a link to the article, and if you go to the article, there's an excerpt from
Myths and Legends.
from Myths and Legends. If you guys want to check that out and see if that's the type of thing you will be into.
I think it's called The Knight and the Dragon is the story that they released.
Yeah. But in general, I personally think it's crazy, but in a good way, that we're getting tie-in material to this park. And I know a lot of people probably hate it. But I don't know, I just think it's such a strange world we live in where, like, you get tie-in novels to a theme park. Like, how weird is that?
Well, on the one hand, like, I want to be angry at it because of, like, my political leanings and my thoughts about large corporations and their marketing schemes. But but on the other hand, I think it's brilliant.
Right.
Like, I think just the decision to say, yes, this could be anywhere, but we're going to make it a new place and also make that new place important. Like, I think that just makes so much sense, because then you can literally design whatever you want. You don't have to be beholden to places that we already know exist. And then you can backdoor make it important with these novels and comics, even if it's not in episode 9, which I think I said, that it will be. But
and what I think is cool is I was having this discussion when these books got announced, and there were various people who understandably were upset, especially if they live in a country that's not getting a park. I saw on the WOOK it said that Paris Disney World is getting one of these eventually. But if you live really far away from one of these parks, it's distinctly possible that you will never have the opportunity to go.
Right.
And I live in a country that's going to have 2 of them, and I'm still like, okay, well, hopefully I'll get to go eventually, but it's still like, will I have to sell one of my hypothetical future children to be able to make it? Like, I don't know.
You're still like 1,000 miles away from either one of them.
Right. It's like, just because I don't need a passport doesn't mean it's easy to get there. And, but anyway, I can understand how it can feel like a giant case of FOMO that you don't get to go. And that, some people felt like the books were salt in the wound. But from my perspective, it feels like a way to at least still be able to experience the park, even if you don't get to go.
Right.
And, I know this as, a much smaller scale kind of thing is growing up, I didn't have a gaming system, so I didn't play a lot of the early Star Wars games.
Right.
So if I wanted to know the story, I had to read the Wikipedia article or the Wikipedia article to at least know what happened. And as it is, if they didn't do all these tie-in books, if you wanted to know any lore at all about Batu, you'd have to go. But now instead, you can read Black Spire, you can read these other books, and get some of the lore. And no shame on Wikipedia, obviously, it's an amazing site, but there's a difference between reading a story and experiencing story and reading an encyclopedia page.
Yeah.
And so I think this is, as much as it is 100% a corporate marketing scheme,
right.
And I'm not going to pretend that it's not and be that idealistic, but there is some inherent intrinsic value to it at least being more accessible to everybody if you can at least read a book about it.
Right. Well, and I've seen people on Twitter, and of course take that for whatever it means, but I've seen people on Twitter who are like opposed to, like, oh, this is Disney Star Wars and Disney is ruining this and all that, like complaining about how Disney is like using this as a way to like make itself more valuable to Star Wars. But at the same time, like, I remember thinking the day that it got announced that Disney had bought Lucasfilm and all of its properties, like, my first thought was, yay, new movies. My second thought was, I wonder if we'll get a Star Wars theme park now.
Right. Well, we already have the Star Tours, which you already talked about.
Right. Well, and that's something that Bob Iger talked about on the conference call, not to, again, be too insidey about that. But he said, we do good. Like, we do really well with these licensing agreements. Like, we've had Indiana Jones stuff. We've had the Star Tours thing. Like, we do pretty well with this. And I think they have a proven track record with stuff like this. That, I mean, whether or not I'm ever able to, I certainly want to go to this.
Right.
You know, and I think it's hard for me to spin it as a bad thing,
Right.
and it makes me question the motives of people that do, just because
Right.
I don't see. I mean, so what if it's not important in canon and these books aren't important to canon? We still have a Star Wars theme park, and you can
Yeah.
go and be on the Millennium Falcon and have not Boba Fett follow you around because you messed up the QuickTime events.
Right. Well, that's my thing too. Is why would you want it to be critical to canon and then not want books?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that more of a corporate marketing scheme to be like, you'll only be able to understand episode 9 if you come to one of our theme parks? Like, that is an ethical problem with a corporation. As opposed to, oh man, a theme park company is making more theme parks. I'm shocked.
Well, and it's the difference to me too between people that read Princess of Alderaan and people that didn't, because reading Princess or reading Catalyst makes you feel so much more about Rogue One, and reading Leia of Alderaan and seeing Amilyn Holdo in there makes me feel differently about The Last Jedi.
100%.
And I feel like this is kind of that, like even if the location of the park is not in the films, like reading these books will make you appreciate it more. And I just feel like I like that. I mean, one, because I guess part of it is like my gatekeeping. I want to know everything and feel like I'm on the inside. But I also just like that they're paying that kind of time and attention to it. Like the notion that this location has been in books already.
Yeah.
Like, and we already have that world fleshed out, to me, shows that they care enough to plan in advance. And that it's not just thrown or cobbled together.
Well, and who hasn't wanted to walk on a Star Wars world?
Right.
Like, I'm sorry.
Like, I remember one of our friends from the Port Haven forums, off and on lives in Los Angeles, and he was there for the episode 8, The Last Jedi premiere. And like he was sending us pictures on Snapchat of like life-size X-Wings on the walk outside the premiere. And like, I want that so bad. Like, I want to go stand next to an X-Wing.
Yeah. Oh, man. But yeah, Blue, I totally understand. That would be my fear of going too soon as well, is it's going to be so crowded. You know it's going to be crowded.
But if it makes you feel any better, Bob Iger said that they're going to raise the prices to keep it from being too crowded. So that's...
Yay! We'll have a coupon
pros and
day.
cons. Yeah. I've also been told, so the first time I ever went to Disney, it was in like October, and it was like on my fall break from school or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a lot of people from Europe that were there in October, and they were like, oh yeah, we always come here because that's when there are no Americans. All the Americans come in the summer, so we come the rest of the year.
I have to keep that in mind. Go in October.
There you go.
That's funny.
Don't go the next time they have Celebration in Orlando, because that will be ridiculous.
Right. Oh man.
If you're worried about crowds.
Holy crap. Yeah, or in Anaheim, really. Either one.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Garen, I kind of the Wook article said it was either 2020 or 2021. The Paris one was opening or whatever. It's opening sometime in the early 20s. And I feel like they haven't done a Europe celebration in a while, but they could easily do like a Paris one to tie in with the opening of that park for sure.
Yeah, get your golden ticket. I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, talking about marketing schemes.
Right.
Willy Wonka made $1 gazillion in that movie, and that's not talked about. He convinced children to buy stuff that's literally not good for them. Anyway, I'll put my politics back in my pocket for a second.
Friends, Professor Jango is here every week to ruin your favorite childhood movies.
Yeah, that's what I do for a living. I tell people why they shouldn't enjoy the things they do.
Oh boy, but yeah.
The rest of the social internet got on that last Christmas with holiday music. I've been on that train for a while. But so my one of the last questions I have
Mhm.
for you about the post or the park
Mhm.
in particular is, do you think that all of the people that do the janitorial services will be dressed as Broom Boy?
Oh, that would be great. Or as FN2187.
Oh yeah,
Um,
and waste removal.
I remember I had a fake theory going for a while that Broom Boy's father was the broom guy from Robot Chicken Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Who was always there sweeping up anytime somebody fell down a hole.
That reminds me. Do you remember that I don't remember the name of it, but that canceled
Oh,
series?
detours or something.
Yeah, Detours. That was
Yeah,
it.
that Seth Green was gonna do. Yeah,
I've
I
not
would have watched that. I
I've
don't
not thought
know.
about that in a long time.
Yeah, that was when so many things were gonna happen, and the live action show Underworld was gonna come out.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Which we haven't really talked about this. We talked about a lot of the possibilities of Batu being in episode 9. But I could see Batu being a location in either the Mandalorian or the Cassian show too. Would
Absolutely.
make sense. Um,
Absolutely.
you would think that if they could build this as a life-size theme park, that they could do pretty good set design for a,
Right,
a
yeah.
TV show.
Just film it at the theme park.
Blue says it would go a lot faster if you had a floor sweeper.
That's true. You're not wrong.
That's good.
Speaking of resistance, if I'm remembering it correctly, when we saw the picture of Yeager's family for the first time, weren't they on Batu?
Oh, maybe
That
so.
sounds.
I'm not sure.
There's a picture of him with his wife and kid,
Yeah, I know what you're
and
talking about.
I don't know if it was confirmed, but I think it was at least speculated. Maybe it was confirmed that you saw like the black spire location behind him.
Maybe so.
And this again goes into my massive theory that Batu will be important, because I think that what if there's a rebellion resistance holdout on Batu,
Yeah.
and at the end of The Last Jedi they have to rebuild the resistance, and that could be a planet where they go to and find the resistance. I don't know.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Telling you, Star Wars Episode 9, Galaxy's Edge. I was making the joke for a while that it was going to be called Galaxy's Edge Now Open.
Yeah.
But hey Skynobi, welcome.
Oh, that's cool. So maybe
Oh,
that
he
is
did?
confirmed.
That's cool. Fantastic.
But-
Matt is really good at responding to people. I feel bad for him because he's so good at responding to people.
Yeah, we have to be careful with this though. This joke about episode 9's title, because we have a bad tendency of taking jokes and running with them. So,
Oh my god. I mean, I'm tweeting it as soon as we're done. Like, we have this new theory. It's called Galaxy's Edge. I still just want that now because it would be the best troll ever on the part of Lucasfilm. It would be such a J.J. Abrams thing to do, honestly.
yeah.
You knew the title the whole time. Dang it, J.J.
Is M. Night Shyamalan making this movie? But do you have any other thoughts about the
About the
the
park?
park or the books or the comics? I will say one thing. I was in the extensive research that I did ahead of time and not while we've been talking about this. The guy that is the main character in the comic, I forget his name despite my extensive research, the Ithorian guy, apparently was either in or was mentioned by name in Solo.
Oh, okay.
As part of the Crimson Dawn. So like that's a thing there too,
Where they're tying it in.
according to Wikipedia anyway.
Speaking of tie-ins, one thing I meant to talk about, but we hadn't gotten to yet, is the park has its own soundtrack by John Williams. He recorded a like not even just a theme, like a soundtrack.
I really didn't know that. I
Yeah.
missed that. Yeah.
There's like a musical piece, so like you're gonna walk around and hear Star Wars music, but it's like original music. Like that's how all out they've gone. I'm waiting for a theme park to win an Academy Award for Best Score, because that would be pretty amusing. And I think you're right, Skenobi.
It's you may, this is completely a non sequitur. You may
Mm-hmm.
know this is true for sure, but I've heard that for a lot of television shows that have
Mm-hmm.
like their own theme songs, that very often, um, either the person that composes the song or one of the writers of the show will write lyrics for the song, even
Huh.
if they're never actually sung. That way, they can get part of the royalties for the music.
That's funny. I
Like
didn't know that. But
I've
that's
heard that was the case about the original Star Trek series, that there are lyrics for that
funny.
song and they're just never sung. That way any royalties that are made from the sale of that music
I feel like the
also
lyrics would just be that lorem ipsum thing. It's not even real lyrics. It's just Paul, I don't know if you're. Oh no, so Paul. So okay, I thought it was a cool notification, but there's some video about a guy named Paul on StarWars.com. Everyone, go watch that later. Blue, I have not watched the sneak peek yet. I often don't watch the sneak peeks because they're like 2 minutes long, which is about 10% of the whole episode. So I try not to watch the sneak peeks if I can avoid it, and just watch the episode itself.
yeah, apparently the Star Wars show is talking Galaxy's Edge today too.
They
And
stole it
Master
from
and
us.
Apprentice. I mean, we did interview Kevin Scott first, so
Right, that's true. They steal
they've been
everything.
scooping us for a while.
We got Kevin Scott before the Star Wars show. Hey, Manrat, welcome. Good to see you here. Django has read Pirate's Price. I'm going to read it soon, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, I want to do a review of that too, but time and life and things. We do have an interview with the author that's posted on the site if you would like to check that one out. It's pinned on our port-haven.com. It'll be the one pinned at the top of the page.
There you go.
Now all I'm thinking about after you've told me that there's a soundtrack is like a Duel of the Fates kind of song that happens every time you like open a bathroom stall. Just a chorus chimes in.
It's like when you flush, if it's like a big flush, it's like dark side music, but if it's not a big flush, it's like light side music. And Skynobi, thank you for subscribing. That was a real notification, so thank you very much. If we're getting to the end, I do have one site announcement.
Yes.
But I can wait if we're done.
No,
with,
go for it.
Okay. So one quick site announcement is we've done a great job of advertising this. By that I mean we haven't barely advertised it at all. But for the rest of the month of February, we're doing. It's not really a competition. It's more of a challenge. Hey, Bosk, welcome. Good to see you. So we're doing a bit of a challenge where we did this back. I think it was in November. And you can find that. It's a art gallery video on our site. And Yagi, you are kind of psychic because that's going to tie into what I'm about to say. But we are doing a challenge to an art challenge where you are supposed to draw Chopper from Star Wars Rebels in honor of Star Wars Rebels ending almost a year ago. Yeah. And it's honor system. Don't look at a picture of Chopper when you draw him, but submit a picture of Chopper, and then we will feature it in an art gallery video, and you'll get your art on a video. We'll talk about you and tell you how great you are. And the way to submit it is you have to go to the specific channel in our Discord, which Yagi just linked to. So first you need to see Star Wars Rebels. Well, first you should watch Star Wars Rebels. I highly recommend Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, Chopper is an astromech droid from Rebels.
A very feisty one at that.
Voiced by Dave Filoni himself.
It's true. But yeah, like I said, so that's a thing we want to do. We're going to start pushing it more on our socials. But sometime early March, we'll do a video where we sit here and pretend to be art critics and tell you how much we liked your thing. But you have to join our Discord in order to submit it.
Yep.
That's okay. We like you anyway, Manrat. It's okay.
I've not seen any Star Wars either. It's okay.
I make all of this up. There's nothing in here. This is where I hide my money. These are all carved out. They have pennies in each and every one of them. It's where I hide my pennies.
These are not actual toys on the shelf behind me. They're just holograms. I
Hmm.
just, yeah.
We exist in your imagination, actually.
But speaking of all of
We're
our
like
socials,
the mind evaporator from.
no, we're definitely not like the mind evaporator.
You create us.
Oh well.
We'll just leave it there before it
Yeah.
gets worse.
But speaking of our social medias, make sure you follow us on all of them.
On the things.
We got Twitter and
Would you?
Facebook and Instagram.
You can see many of them below Django.
Yes, right there. I should put our Instagram there too. And
Um,
if you're not already, we thank the people that have subscribed today. But make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're not already. And
mhm.
if you hit that notification bell, you will find out every time we go live.
Yep.
So our regular-ish kind of time for these lately has been 4 o'clock Eastern on
Mhm.
Wednesdays. But if in case that ever changes, or when we do gaming streams and other stuff, if you hit that notification bell, you will be notified every time we put a video up, not just the live streams.
Which, by the way, if you like to celebrate Valentine's Day the way I do, I will potentially be doing a gaming stream on here tomorrow.
Is it,
So there you go.
as a hint, it involves throwing stormtroopers off of walkways and
It involves lots of toxic masculinity. That's
and
your thing.
and pulling star destroyers out of the sky.
We won't get that far yet, but that will be a bad stream when we get to that part of the game. That is the worst part.
It'll just
That
be
part
like
of the game is so broken. It is so broken. I was doing test streams of this game that you can probably figure out what it is, and it has not aged well. Let me just say, but that's okay. I love it anyway.
I remember it took me like 45 minutes to do that part of the game for real.
Well, it's and like you're supposed to like line the Star Destroyer up, and then you get like the green dot that tells you to like pull it out of the sky. But mine was busted, and it wouldn't move when it was in the green dot. I had to get to the green dot and then go just below the green dot so that it turned red again, and then I could pull it. Like my game was straight broke, and I was so mad. And Coda's like, "Pull it out of the sky," and I'm like, "Shut up, Coda! You can pull it out of the sky. What are you doing?"
Is that part
Nothing.
in the novel?
It is, and it's way better in the novel.
But anyway, that'll be tomorrow in celebration of Valentine's Day,
Yep.
obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's going to do it for us this week. We thank you all for hanging out. There's a lot of people that have been hanging out with us that make their own content. You should check out Yagi and Sarge, and Bosk's Bounty was here for a second, I think.
Yeah.
And probably other people that I'm forgetting, who are our pals. You should check them and subscribe to them. Do we want to send anybody somewhere?
I'm checking. There's a fellow member of the Positive Star Wars YouTube group that appears to be live. Let me see if he is. He's live. He is a Battlefront streamer, though he's currently streaming Apex Legends.
Along with everyone else.
Or everyone else in the world. But we should go say hi to him. And I don't know what his opinion is on Raylo, so just say Port Haven raid.
Say
And we'll go
episode
from
9, Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, right. Just go say hi.
Port Haven
This is my
raid
buddy.
works for me.
This is my buddy Split Screen. And that'll be it. Thank you guys so much.
Yep, and we will see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.